Good morning. My name is Jeanette Stanziano, and I work for your New York State Association of Counties, where I serve as the Director of Education and Training. On behalf of our President, the Honorable Jack Marin, and NYSAC Executive Director Stephen J. Aquario, I want to thank you for joining us this morning to discuss understanding how New York State GIS and open parcel data sharing can benefit counties. The New York State Office of Information Technology serves GIS, or Geographical Information Systems. Program Office will be presenting an informative webinar to highlight what they do in producing high-quality spatial framework data for New York State, including aerial images, elevation, address points, streets, civil boundaries, and parcels, and how counties and the state can cooperate to our mutual benefit with more spatial data sharing. This is particularly important when it comes to open GIS tax parcel data, as counties own and maintain the parcel data, while the state collects and assembles a standardized parcel data set, which we share as widely as each county allows us to. New York State GIS will be sharing with NYSAC members important information about the need for more open parcel data sharing and county and state cooperation in that effort. Before we begin, I just want to give you a couple of housekeeping pointers for the webinar itself. We will be recording this session and posting it after 1 p.m. today on the NYSAC website. It will also be posted with a PDF of our slide deck. You can find this at www.nysac.org/webinars. At the end of our presentation this morning, we will have a brief Q&A session. We encourage you to submit questions during the webinar by utilizing your dashboard. If you click on the questions tab, you can submit your question, send it to us privately, and we will read them when we get to the Q&A portion of the program. At this time, I would like to take a moment to recognize today's webinar sponsor, KeyBank Capital Markets. KeyBank has a deep New York government expertise, which allows them to bring valuable services and actionable ideas to their clients. KeyBank is ready to help guide your county towards its strategic goals through customized financial solutions. For further information about KeyBank Capital Markets, please contact Brendan Baxter at 518-257-8501. You can also reach him via email at brendan_e_baxter@key.com. Thank you, KeyBank Capital Markets. Our speaker today comes from a very experienced background in GIS. Kate Kianitsa received an MA in geography from SUNY Albany, specializing in Geographic Information Systems and Spatial Analysis, and has a GIS Professional Certification, or GISP. Kate has worked for the New York State Office of Information Technology Services, GIS Program Office, since 2010, and she started her career at the GPO working on the state broadband initiative, and is currently the program manager for the Civil Boundaries Program and the Statewide Parcel Map program. She also works with government entities, stakeholders, and users of the civil boundaries and parcel data to continue to improve and add value to these important framework data sets. If you have any questions for Kate during the presentation, once again, submit them through the questions tab on your screen dashboard. We will answer those questions during the Q&A. Again, thank you for being with us this morning. We hope that you find this presentation helpful and educational. And without further ado, Kate, the floor is yours.
Webinar today, and I look forward to your questions at the end. And let's dive right in. Next slide. So GIS, Geographic Information Systems. A geographic information system lets us visualize, question, analyze, and interpret data to answer business questions, understand relationships, patterns, and trends. It's estimated that about 85% of the information managed by government agencies is geographically referenced in some way. And when we're talking about GIS analysis, often there are two sets of data that go into that analysis. On the one side, we have business data layers, which are specific to a particular use or project or program. And on the other side of that equation are framework data, the bare bones data that are used in almost every spatial operation. And in New York State, we have identified 5 types of framework data that are used in almost every spatial analysis. And those are ortho imagery, elevation, boundaries, the city, town, village, county, state boundaries, streets, the street network, and address points, locations, and tax parcels. The New York State GIS Program Office, as part of the Office of Information Technology Services at New York State, we have people in our office that manage, create, and provide access to the ortho imagery, the elevation, the boundaries program, which I also manage, and streets and addresses. People in our office and through contractors create this data. We own it at New York State, and we provide access. All of this data is open and publicly available on gis.ny.gov, freely available to use. Tax parcels have also been identified as a framework data layer, but in New York State, it's a little different in that the counties own and maintain the tax parcel data. And our job at the GIS Program Office is not to create and maintain that data set, but to gather that data set from counties. And that's where the Statewide Parcel Map comes in as part of the GIS Program Office. You can go to the next slide. So the Statewide Parcel Map program within the GIS Program Office, or the GPO, we love our acronyms at the state, our mission is to collect, assemble, maintain, and provide access to statewide tax parcel data. So once a year, I reach out to 57 counties in New York City to gather GIS tax parcel polygons that each county creates and maintains, and we standardize them using tabular assessment data from the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance Office of Real Property Tax Services, and we share that standardized data product as widely as each county allows us to. You can go to the next slide. So standardized parcel data. What's so important about that? Well, every county has their own data owner. There aren't any standardization rules from county to county. So every county has their own way of maintaining their GIS tax parcel data with different attributes in it. As you see, County 1 might have the mailing address, might not in County 2. The attribute data underlying it, if you open up a table of the data that the GIS spatial data represents, you'll see that the different columns of data, such as owner name, is spelled in multiple different ways, so that anyone who wants to do a GIS data analysis in more than one county, across a couple of counties, a region, or statewide, has to synthesize those data sets into one cohesive whole in order to do an analysis efficiently. So that's what we do at the GIS Program Office. We collect that data and we standardize it so that every county has the same exact attributes filled out in the same way, so that someone using the data from county to county or statewide is looking at the data and using the data in a standardized format. Next slide, please. And then as far as sharing the data, while we encourage counties to open up their parcel data publicly, we absolutely respect each county's right as the data owner to control the distribution of their GIS data. And we only share our standardized data product or post your county's parcel data that we collect on gis.ny.gov with explicit written permission from each county as they direct us. Currently, all 62 counties We have data for state agency business use, emergency preparedness and response, and all of the good uses that New York State needs the data for. And 26 counties allow us to share the parcel data publicly, and one just joined last week. So we're getting more all the time. When I started on this with this program in 2015, only 12 counties had publicly shareable data, and now we're up to 26. And part of this presentation, we'll try to show you why I think it's a good idea for more counties to jump on board, open their data publicly. But let's go to the next slide. And even if counties, and you represent a county potentially that does not share their data publicly, we still are so grateful that for our relationship with your county, that all counties provide us a yearly update of their GIS tax parcel data, even if it's only for state agency business use only, because there are so many important ways that standardized data set we create are used across the state for critical state services that benefit every single New Yorker, such as in state police, their computer-aided dispatch systems in their state police cars have tax parcel boundaries on them, so they can assess property boundaries when they're on calls. The Department of Corrections uses our standardized parcel tax boundaries in the CIRRUS application, which is an online spatial analysis tool, to place sex offenders at a legal distance from school and making sure the parcel and the property that they're going to be moving to is away from a school. Every day they do this. And the Office of Emergency Management and the Department of Environmental Conservation use the standardized parcels in their systems to do natural disaster planning, response efforts for natural disasters. When a terrible disaster happens, Hurricane Sandy, for example, we want to have the parcel data on hand to be able to do fast analysis in order to get federal aid flowing to localities, give resources to first responders, and having those yearly updates for state use so that we can standardize it is so important. And I would just want to point out and make a plea one time as well that if there are issues going on between the county and the state that have to do with the budget, that have to do with political issues, I would just plead that advocate in your county to continue this relationship with the New York State GIS Program Office and make sure that the spatial data is kept out of these other issues that the county might have with the state. Because we at the GIS Program Office, we see the work that we do is benefiting everyone, no matter what is going on in other areas between the state and the county. And we thank you for that relationship, and we would encourage you to continue that relationship so that these critical services, which are of huge benefit to all New Yorkers, can continue and to have the most up-to-date data in their use. You can go to the next slide. So that's state agency sharing use. These are the 26 counties that now allow us to share our standardized tax parcel data publicly. And if this is one of your counties, fantastic. Thank you so much. Duben County just came on last week, and we're thankful for that. And so when you're hearing the presentation parts that I'm about to give to encourage more counties to open up their data, you can pat yourself on the back and think about the ways that the county you represent will hopefully is reaping the benefit of that or will soon in the future. So this is just a map of current counties that have open access to parcel data. There's 26. And for the counties that don't currently share, I hope that the information that I offer, which is a data-driven analysis that we feel are ways in which counties can tangibly benefit from opening up their tax parcel data, that you will consider it, bring it back to your county, talk to your real property tax directors, your planning department, your economic development people, and see if it makes sense for your counties, if you feel that these talking points that I'm about to make might apply to your county as well. And ultimately the decision is up to you. So next slide, please. So one of the ways we wanted to look at this was just the distribution of parcel data. Back in from 1980 and before, print paper maps of the parcels were what was distributed. They had to be mailed. You had to go and pick them up in the office. And now jump ahead 20 years and we're into the year 2000 and we've got, you know, CDs and DVDs being burned and mailed out. And now in 2020, technology has advanced rapidly, as we know, and oftentimes users of data want to be able to click and download the data straight away. And we know that each county has various capabilities across the board of whether they're still mailing out disks of GIS tax parcel data, or if there is download capability through the county. But coming up to now 2020, the expectation now is more and more that users of parcel data will be able to click and download data. Next slide, please. Why is this? Well, because we like to click, get happy. I've got small kids who, when they were little, were very happy that Amazon was around and I could click and have my diapers delivered straight to my front door when I needed them. And now more and more people are expecting this of spatial data, any kind of data. They want to be able to download it, connect it to it with web services, and that makes us all happy. Instant access, it's where the world is going, and we want to make sure we're bringing New York State along with that as well, that we're all experiencing that click, get happy when it comes to parcel data as well. Next slide, please. So what's the current state of affairs of obtaining GIS tax parcel in New York State? So we have the 26 that are available, public download. Some of those counties, you can get the data, click right from their website. Other counties give it to us, and we share it publicly. You don't need to have the public sharing infrastructure download capability on your county website to do this. We at the GIS program office have gis.ny.gov as a platform. We can make the data available for download. And 36 counties, though, restrict or charge it for the data in some way. And as a citizen or a small business, in order to get the parcel data, you got to search online, you got to make phone calls, you have to call people in person. There are still counties where you have to fill out a form, have it notarized, mail a check, have to get that check processed, and then you are mailed a disc on DVD or CD before. And this can be frustrating for people who need to use the data quickly to do a spatial analysis. And we would encourage every county to think about these data access situation and what it is in your county and how this may be detrimental to letting the parcels be used quickly and for purposes that would benefit the county. Next slide, please. And in a lot of cases, we also want to examine what's already out there. A lot of counties that we've talked to feel that they're, you know, what information is already out in the public, and what are you really agreeing to release to be made publicly available. And in New York State, what's proprietary to the county, what the county owns and maintains, are the GIS tax parcel polygons themselves, the outer edge boundary GIS representations of the tax parcel boundaries. The assessment roll is already publicly available from the Office of Real Property Tax Services. They're required to post, and localities are required to post local tax rolls. So all of the owner information, property class types, values of properties, that's all publicly available information already. Parcel centroid points, so a general point location of the parcels, that is also already publicly available for download and required to be released by the Tax and Finance Office of Real Property Tax Services. Next slide. And this is just the local law stating about the tax parcel centroid coordinate locator number. This is where this is from. This PowerPoint being available to download, someone can read, click on the links, and go where these links go to the real property tax code for anyone who's interested in reading more about this. Next slide. And it's also part of the real property tax law that the tax assessment data be posted in a publicly placed legible form. And New York State real property tax data is also FOILable. And it is subject to FOIL. Whether or not it actually gets released through the FOIL process is another concern that is separate. We had an issue where we had a FOIL request last year, which caused issue with some counties. A student FOILed all the parcel data in New York State, and several counties, you have to file legal objections to why you don't want the data released because our county finds this data proprietary, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a process to follow. And that FOIL request was denied. So for counties who believe that their GIS tax parcel polygon data is proprietary and it will not be released, in the past when there have been FOIL requests, it has been denied, but it is subject to go through the process of FOIL until its conclusion. So next slide, please. And also, almost every single county offers an online tax parcel viewer, and we have links on our website for data that's not readily available to download, where people can go to link to each county's tax parcel viewer if they really only just want to look at a visual of the tax parcel polygon on some nice aerial imagery. Every county has at least one of those. So this, and also just to show, a lot of this information is already out and publicly available in some formats, to make counties more comfortable potentially with taking the next step of allowing more of their data to be publicly available. Next slide, please. So this is a lot of graphs and words on the next couple of slides. And this is another way to just show we did do our homework. Feel free to download the PDF, and the next page will have the next slide has a huge table of numbers on it. And the big takeaway was that we examined some county tax budgets in 2015 to see, okay, so we understand that counties make money from this data. Like, we don't want to be taking away very important revenue from counties that need it. And we just want to get an idea of how much money are counties actually making on selling this GIS tax parcel data. So we went through all of these set of counties in 2015, and then we did that again in 2020 to see, well, okay, so how much money are they making now? Maybe they're making more money now than they did before. And what can we get out of that? So the general trend was, across the board here, we have an average of $9,700 if you averaged all the counties we looked at in revenue that the county was getting in 2015, and an average of about $7,200 looking at 2020. And if you take out the counties that opened up their parcel data, so they're not making anything now, and maybe are skewing the counties that do still charge data, it's about $9,000 a year now on average in the county budget the counties are receiving. And it's almost across the board gone down, receiving less revenue in 2020 than they did in 2015. So this is a falling source of revenue. And Steuben County is on here. They just opened up their parcel data this year, so they're another one that's going to bring down the average here, where not receiving the revenue from selling GIS tax parcel data. So if you go to the next slide, you'll just see, for later reference if you wish, where I got all of this information from. I've got links to the county budgets and the page number and what categories of the county budgets I used from 2015 to 2020 to determine where GIS data would fall in the county revenue. And in most cases, though, GIS data is probably lumped into other categories, such as, digital processing fees, sale of tax and survey maps, which I'm assuming if GIS data were released, those sales would still continue. So even looking at this data, I don't believe GIS tax parcel sales is 100% of making up this revenue. And there are ways that counties can still be making money, just not on the GIS tax parcel data. And we have heard cases in other counties where they've decided to open up the parcel data publicly, and they found other ways to make up the revenue in creative ways, such as adding a real estate transaction fee onto all real estate transactions in the county that would replace that income. So be thinking about that as well as we're talking about this money issue. And feel free to download the PowerPoint and check my numbers and see what you want to see within that table. So we're talking about $9,000 of average revenue that counties are receiving in their budget. And then, you know, think about that in terms of what does that $9,000 you get cost to maintain? Like what's the outgoing cost output to get that $9,000? And what would you get if that just disappeared? This, you know, managing people, calling your county offices, wanting parcel data. You've got to handle these phone calls, staff time, processing these data requests. You have to have mechanisms for processing this money. The legal agreements that some counties want everyone to sign have to, you know, there's time with lawyers. We have FOIL issues and that legal part of it. You've got to physically mail the data to people in a lot of cases. And I'm not sure what it costs counties who are very serious about their GIS tax parcel data not getting into the wrong hands and then being resold. You know, what does it cost the county to, you know, track down who did we give this data to? Are we sure that they're not violating the terms of our agreement? What if Joe Public gets the data and signs the agreement and pays you $1,500 and then goes and throws it up on a website for everyone to download because he's got a bone to pick about it? And then you have to pay, you know, what does it cost to sue the person, bring them to court? I know of a person who also has sued counties over wanting to FOIL the data and not getting the data, bringing them to court over the FOIL request. What are those court costs? So just some ideas to think about in terms of what this revenue means to get versus all the output that is being spent by counties to get that revenue, and how that staff time and systems within the county could be freed up for other purposes, the real property tax department, you know, doing what they can to get the most property tax data, collect it, and do assessments and all of the things that are done, more of their time being spent on that than handling these data requests. And so to replace that, okay, so we're getting our $9,000. It costs some to get. So what next? Next slide. So what happens when a county says, yes, we're going to share our tax parcel data publicly at the click of a button? What are the good things that could happen? And we wanted to take a look at that. Can we show in a data-driven way what are some benefits of saying, yes, we're losing that $9,000, what are we going to gain? Next slide. Well, we looked at 3 counties that previously had their data locked, and they unlocked it. And they have their own data download pages on gis.ny.gov, so we can track beyond our standardized parcel data how many people downloaded this data after it was unlocked. And it just went up astronomically. Way more people are downloading and using the data once it's open. Next slide. And we wanted to break it down. We looked at the IP addresses. So we could find all the IP addresses of who downloaded it, and we tried to see if we could categorize what kind of IP addresses are looking at the data. You know, you got a .gov, a .edu, and financial industry names, banks, and businesses. You got a .biz account or just known business accounts. So this is sort of a breakdown by sector of, for Rensselaer County, we used Rensselaer County. They had the most jump up in downloads, the biggest data set that we had to work with. And I live in Rensselaer County, so it was a little personal for me to look at Rensselaer County, who went from not sharing their parcel data to sharing. And next slide. And we went deeper into the business data. The business data is where we hear most counties saying those businesses can afford to pay. That's who we definitely don't want to let it get it into their hands for free. So let's look at what kinds of businesses are now downloading this free and open parcel data. We had out-of-state grocery stores, manufacturing, land conservation, just so many different types of businesses that were that were downloading this GIS tax parcel data in Rensselaer County, for Rensselaer County, once it was open and publicly available. Next slide. And then we wanted to dig even deeper and say, okay, is there specific businesses with it that downloaded the data that we can trace? This business downloaded the data and then they did something awesome in the county, and that would bring benefit to the county. So we tried to find some examples of that. And next slide. And the first one that stood out was Amazon. Amazon downloaded the GIS tax parcel data, and this is the one that kind of started all of this, because as we go to the next slide, Amazon has now built a new warehouse facility in Schodack that's going to bring in lots of jobs and property taxes for the county and the water district and ambulance and the school district. And this kind of helped kick off this whole project, because I live in Schodack and I drive by this Amazon facility every day, and it kind of triggered in my mind, working at the GIS program office in Parcels and working from when Rensselaer County's data was locked to unlocked. I remember seeing that Amazon facility going up, and I said, I wonder if they downloaded our parcel data, if that might have had something to do with us getting this Amazon warehouse. I'm going to check and see. And they had. They've downloaded our GIS tax parcel data. And now this huge facility has been built, bringing revenue and jobs to our town and to our county. Next slide, please. Another company that's been in the news off and on lately is Regeneron. They're in East Greenbush in Rensselaer County. They have the COVID therapy medication and lots of other good medications that they provide as a pharmaceutical company. They're building a new facility in Rensselaer County, and we tracked that when these projects happen, small engineering firms have to do traffic analysis, water analysis, and wetland analysis, and cultural heritage analysis. And a lot of the small engineering firms that worked on this project downloaded the publicly available parcel data for Rensselaer County. And we know from talking to these small engineering firms that having fast access to download the data that they need when they're working on a project, and it's in a standardized format, if they want to do a project in Albany County and then Rensselaer County and they're taking jobs, it helps them finish their work so much faster. They don't have to track down several different counties worth of data, put it together to do, I'm going to use this for this, and I got to use this query for this county because it's a little bit different. It's a part of making these economic development projects happen smoother, be more likely to be happening on time, and it just makes the process go smoother. And this Regeneron facility is going to be bringing, 1,500, high-paying jobs to the region, and we're really proud of that as well. And what role, potentially, that having public parcels available played in making that project happen and happen smoothly. Next slide. Now, if you're anti-big business in your community or in your county, and you think Amazon would be the worst possible thing that would happen if it came to our county, that's terrible, we don't want any of that. There's a flip side of it as well, of having open parcel data. Citizen engagement, because my neighbors down the road who live near this Amazon facility were not happy about Amazon coming in and building right next to their neighborhood. So we have citizen engagement example of opposition to this project in Schodack. So next slide. So a group of citizens found out they were going to do blasting, and there's a local ordinance that they have to notify people within a mile radius of when they're going to be doing blasting. And these citizens got on computer, got GIS going. They downloaded the Rensselaer County GIS tax parcels. They buffered it by 1 mile and presented to the town that, hey, you can't do blasting. All of these people who live in this radius have to be notified and have to be allowed all of these provisions. And they actually successfully had at least the blasting delayed until the proper laws were followed, so that all the citizens could be notified and sent and allowed to inspect and all of the things that had to happen. So I think it's really cool that having the GIS parcels available, these citizens could straight away, this is not like I can wait a week, this blasting is happening in like 2 days, we got to do something. They could go, grab the data, do this analysis, feel empowered to have their voices heard at the local level with like a data-driven analysis that, hey, you're not doing the right thing, you need to do the right thing. And I think that's pretty neat. And they would not have been able to do that if that data was not just readily available. Click, download, let's go. All right, next slide. Another example, environmental protection, forest and wildlife preservation, sustainable energy companies have downloaded this data, and I talk to them on the phone every now and then as well. Next slide, here's a couple examples of, aside from big business and big development, we have the Conservation Fund. A lot of our forests are privately owned, and these conservation efforts look to where can we buy up adjacent parcels and create, you know, a new state forest or new land for conservation. And that also creates jobs, provides benefits for the environment, and for these nonprofit organizations to have access to, again, standardized parcel data. It's not just, they don't, you know, looking at multiple counties, looking across the state, where can we, you know, find these types of properties that we're looking for and do a fast analysis to see where we could possibly build these pockets of preservation. And that happened in Rensselaer County as well, where they developed the Cowie Forest across several counties in New York and going into Vermont and Massachusetts, which brought all of these benefits that you see on the screen there as well. Next slide. Sustainable energy companies, and also going into access to broadband and cell phone towers. I had a conversation with the man who runs this business, Virtual Site Simulations, Russ Dasta, really nice guy, small business, it's just him. He cites where the best place to put cell phone towers are for, you know, 5G or for windmill construction, solar construction. So his business is all GIS based, where he works with taking the parcels and this project and helps businesses figure out where the best parcels to put their construction on. And also for cell phone towers specifically, he said a lot of it has to do with doing these view shed analysis of where within this parcel that this Verizon owns, where's the best place to put the cell phone tower so that it has the highest effectiveness, but also is the least visually obstructive to the towns, to the surrounding locality. And I had a long conversation with him saying, I don't understand why I have to contact individual counties to get this data. It costs me so much time and money to have to track this down, call this person, call that person, and wait for the data. He's like, I can pay for it, but it costs me money to get the data. And then I feel like I'm providing a direct benefit to the town, to the locality, to make sure that these cell phone towers don't look as hideous as they possibly could, look as least hideous as they possibly could, and be the least of an eyesore. And I just wish I could just get this data. I don't want to have to, you know, explain myself over and over again to every county and kind of plead my case. And I'm just a one-person business, you know, yeah, you know, I can pay for it, but why should I have to? Because I feel like I'm benefiting the locality. So next slide. And there's a lot more examples. This is only a few examples because I don't want to go over time, but broadband internet access expansion is one that's near and dear to my heart because I started off in the broadband mapping program and trying to figure out all over the state, where are the pockets of served versus unserved, who's underserved by broadband. We know today broadband access is essential, and next to, you know, water and electricity is public utility, really. And there are lots of small broadband providers in every corner of the state, small and large, who need parcel data to help analyze and submit grants to get state money to help expand broadband into rural areas. So important. If There's historic and cultural preservation. Research laboratories are using this data. There's a push, has been a push for a long time since COVID has started, with research laboratories working with SUNY and private research laboratories to identify parcels that are on public sewer versus private sewer, and which public sewer system they're on, which sewer shed they're on, and doing COVID-19 testing at a sewage treatment plant or within a sewer shed to see at a community level if this community is going to be a hotspot or not. Again, that just relies on the same thing, standardized parcel data to be able to query who's got what properties are private sewer, which aren't. Application developers, hunting applications use parcel data to make sure that you know where the properties are. And things like coming down the road, I'm just guessing things like geofencing of drones, that would be something that would need to have parcel data input, and small business development for sure. Next slide, please. Because I'll just quickly touch on this. I hear from businesses and residents all the time, all of these sort of talking points. I don't understand why I have to pay. Let us know. They're not going to say, oh, I'll pay the money. I'll say, I'll just wait. I'll use the old data I have for now. Let me know when it's publicly available. I had someone I talked to just recently who moved from Maryland to New York and took a job at a small engineering firm in New York and just could not believe that we did not have statewide parcel data to download. And he's sending me links to the Maryland State GIS site and saying, look, Maryland has this fantastic GIS site and you could download all the parcels. When I worked in Maryland, I could get all this information for the entire state and I could just download it and do my job. And what I didn't realize when I moved to New York that this would be so difficult. And in a lot of cases, they call me at the GIS program office as sort of they feel like they're complaining to the manager, like the county is being difficult. I'm going to complain to the state, and not knowing that I'm not the manager of the states. The GIS program office does not have authority to tell the states, you must make this publicly available. All we can do is ask, and all I can do is present to you this information that I'm hearing, that I see at the state, that we see, to help you make a decision of whether maybe you do want to release the data publicly, because there are people out there who will not wait, do not want to wait, and wish and hope that this is publicly available. So I'm just passing along this information and feedback from what I hear. Next slide. Empire State Development, these large-scale projects. We heard specifically from Empire State Development. If you do want large-scale projects in your county, they told us specifically that there are communities that have been excluded from that the initial site selection. That does not happen by large companies. Amazon does not go around to every county in the United States and get parcel data. They get what they can get from some larger source. And the same thing, Empire State Development projects. There is a process that is high up that uses publicly available parcel data. And if the parcel data is not within that sphere, is not in that system, communities and counties have been excluded because the information is just not available. So that's food for thought on that account. Next slide. And in the Northeast, I went and looked up what about surrounding us in the Northeast? There's 3,000 counties in the whole state. Let's just look at the Northeast. Where is open parcel data available around us? And there's quite a lot. So if, especially national businesses or international businesses, or there's a lot to choose from. If something requires open parcel data, they can go outside of New York State pretty easily. And we want those opportunities, services, and innovation, we want those in our state as well. And so just also something to think about. We're kind of behind the trend here. Next slide. So we just want to advocate once again, don't be this guy. Don't advocate in your county not to have this false sense that people will wait. They can pay. Amazon can pay my $1,500. but they're not. They won't. They will wait. They'll go elsewhere. There's relatively small, that $9,000 in revenue. Can't that be made up somewhere else for the potential benefit you're missing by not having it? And the outmoded data delivery mechanisms. Everyone expects, it's so expected that you will go online and click and get what you need now. And we would love to be a help at the state level for counties that aren't quite there yet. We want to help you facilitate that to help get the data that is needed in the hands of the people who need it to do their jobs, to fuel the economy, to fuel broadband expansion, to create preservation of forest lands. We care about every little piece of the state. I care passionately about this, and I've seen the benefits in my county, and I just want to share with other counties. Hey, I've seen this in my county. I see this at my job at the state. I want to make sure that you're not stepping over piles of cash and jobs and economic opportunity to scrabble up this little small change of that $4,000 in our county budget. Just can't let it go. But you might be missing out on all these opportunities. And just wanted to give you those thoughts to take away with today, to think about it. And again, this is my perspective. There might be very good reasons at the county why this has happened, but totally up to you. We already have the technical capability in place. You don't have to build a website, change your website, do anything. We have the parcel data already in-house. Counties that say yes, we make it available within, as long as it takes us to get our website updated and the new data up with your county added in is all it takes to make it available to download and through web services. And really all counties have to do is say yes to that. And next slide. This is the last slide. And we want everyone to click Get Happy. And really the decision is up to you. We want to give this presentation is something we'd like to advocate for people within the county, to advocate at their county, within their county, to bring these ideas and these thoughts up. And as well, there's going to be a version. This will be, of course, available publicly at the NYSAC website, but there's going to be, by this spring, a version of this PowerPoint that we're going to put up publicly on our gis.ny.gov site, and see if we can get some more counties on board before then, and to also put this information in the hands of everyday New Yorkers and citizens. Right now, I've only shared this with real property tax directors, most of our real property tax directors at the counties, and I'm sharing it with you. I'd like to get feedback, oh, you're totally quacked. I'd love to hear good feedback, bad feedback, how we can make this presentation and these ideas better. And then I want to put this information in the hands of the public and the small businesses and the people that I hear from, that they can take this presentation, learn from it, and go and advocate in their counties. Hey, how come you don't make parcel data publicly available? I'm a small business. I make money for this county. Let's open up this data so that we can get more good things happening in our county. But again, we totally respect that this data belongs to the county. It's up to the county, and all I'm doing is presenting information and asking nicely that you consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate, for that very, very informative presentation. You gave all of our attendees a lot to think about and a lot to possibly vet within their county. We are getting close to 11, but I do have just a couple of quick questions that have come up. Everybody, don't forget the information right now that's on the screen to reach Kate if you have any further questions, or if you'd like to sign up, just reach out. As we said, this recording, the slide deck will be on our website under webinars. If you just go to www.nysac.org/webinars, you will find the recording after 1 o'clock today with the slide deck as well. So questions that came in are, have there been any counties that have joined this program and then reversed their decision afterwards? Did any counties find any detriment to using this program?
No, We have not. Nope.
Great.
We've only heard good things.
And how many current counties are participating in sharing parcel data?
Currently 26. If you go on the website today at gis.ny.gov, there's only 25 because Steuben County just said they were going to open up their data, and it'll take a couple weeks for us to just put their data out there. But 26. But if you were to go now, it's 25 you can grab. So about 20%.
Great. Our final question is, for counties that want to share their parcel data, where do they?
Oh, I think I lost you.
Where do you start the program if your county wants to join and share parcel data? What's the beginning of that process?
Oftentimes we found it's with the real property office and the real property tax department within the county. They're the ones that sort of are the ones that create the data, but every county is different as far as who the ultimate decision maker is at the county. We've heard from some real property tax directors that the decision is not theirs. They would open up the data, but someone over them, a finance director or someone above them, is the one that ultimately makes the decision. But generally it starts to find out who the decision maker is at the county with the real property tax department office, and then whoever has the authority to tell me, yes, we want to open up their data publicly, they contact me, send me, it's usually just an email to keep a record of it that they've agreed to, that we can share their data publicly. And the simple part is opening up and putting the data up on the website. The difficult part is figuring out, who at the county is the one who can make the decision and convincing them.
Understood. Well, I would like to thank Kate Kianitsa for her informative presentation today. Again, she is with the New York State GIS Program Office, Statewide Parcel Map Program Manager for New York State. Again, you can find recordings and Kate's information on those recordings and the slide deck on NYSAC's website. We hope to see you at our next virtual education session. We'll have them throughout the month. So thank you for joining us today. This concludes our webinar. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again to KeyBank for sponsoring this program. Have a good day.